It's very nice to see AsiaNet taking the initiative of actually inviting young children to compete for the honor of witnessing our Republic Day parade, our Beating the Retreat parade, and celebrating the great joy of Indian democracy.
You had been working with the United Nations. It's a great honor to do so. Could you share some of your best experiences with us?
As a young man, I was in charge of the Singapore office of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, which had a particular responsibility for refugees rescued on the high seas and brought into the port. Particularly after the fall of Vietnam to the communists at that time, a lot of people fleeing communism got into little boats and got out into the South China Sea, where very often some of them met a sad and untimely death. Some reached the shores of the neighboring countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and so on, Thailand. And some were rescued by ships and brought in to the biggest port in the area, which was Singapore. And there were a lot of stories. I can give you one true and sad story of a young couple who left with their two small children in a tiny little boat with a cannibalized tractor engine to power it. The engine inevitably broke down. Soon they were drifting aimlessly in the South China Sea. They ran out of the food they brought. They ran out of drinking water. And they were subsisting on rainwater and hope. Fortunately, just before the end, they were rescued by a ship, an American ship. And they were so weak, during this journey, because they had no nourishment, what happened was that the parents slit their own fingers with a knife and got their children, a baby and an infant, to suck the blood to get some nourishment into their system. That's how desperate they were. And then when they were rescued by the ship, they were so weak they could barely stand. They had to be lifted up and carried. And my staff and I broke every rule in the book to rush them into intensive care. And then to see that same family a few months later, healthy and well-dressed and recovered and setting out for a new life in the United States, that offered a kind of satisfaction that few jobs in the world can. So working for refugees meant that I could very often just put my head to the pillow at night, knowing that things I'd done during the day had made a real difference to human beings' lives. There are refugees, former refugees now growing up as Canadian or French or American or whatever, because of my staff and my skills in persuading these countries to take them and give them new lives. And that was very satisfying.